Hi guys, welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. I'm here with Elijah Weintraub, my co-host, and it's March 30th, 2024, and lots of stuff to talk about. Eli,
Yeah.
as you folks know, we start every show with a monologue, and this week Eli has that honor, and it's, of course, brought to you by Coriano Trucking. Eli, monologue, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Jim. And good morning to you over in the West Coast today. Let's start
Yes.
off with the monologue. And MLB opening day was this week. It was pretty exciting. Some pretty good games out there. Some postponements, obviously, with the Mets and the Phillies due to the rain. Mets obviously did not have a good, strong start as they wanted. Yesterday was a pretty bad loss. Yankees off to a 2-0 start with the Houston Astros playing, which is a very tough team, as we all know. But today's monologue, I'm going to focus on who has the best opening day and who has like the opening day or week. And, there's five sports really I'll cover that I would say has the best like opening day, week, or event that sparks everybody. And those events are the NHL opening day, NBA opening day, MLB, NFL and college football opening day / week, and March Madness. Now, I know on First Take on ESPN, they mentioned the Olympics, which you could make a point is a very popular opening day event. But for right now, I'm going to focus on the five major sports that we cover here in the United States that are most memorable to watch. And I'm going to start off with the NHL and NBA. Here are my thoughts on it. When it comes to opening day, they are somewhat interesting. They're a little bit boring because you have a long season to come, but it's exciting because you see the champions play out, we see how they play, and this sets the tone of what we should expect this upcoming season. But it's not as exciting as versus the NFL and college football, as we've been waiting months and months for the moment to happen, and it's exciting to watch. You look at NFL football, when it returns, it's the highlight on everybody's show and conversation for weeks to come. For college football, it's the new tone to see who's going to play in the national championship come January and who's going to be drafted in the NFL. Who are we supposed to watch out for? That makes the NFL college football so memorable and awesome to watch. MLB, it's exciting, but it's a long season. It's an exciting season opening day because, number one, you also have the opportunity to play baseball again, start of spring, the back outdoors. Baseball is there. But it's not so exciting because it's a very long season. It's more than 100 games you play baseball, which is tons of games, a lot of baseball to play.
162,
Yeah, it's a lot. So that's why it's not exactly, my spark of cup of tea to say, yeah, MLB is the way to go. And you look at March Madness, I think everybody's excited about March Madness. You could be a non-sports fan and you could say, yeah, March Madness, the upset. Look at St. Peter's. Look at that school. Look at the upset. I think everybody says that too. But to my top five, number one obviously is football, I think, in my opinion. For number one opening day / week, football beats it by a mile. Second place would definitely be March Madness because everybody loves March Madness. Everybody thinks that it's the greatest time of the year for sports world and everything, the upsets and excitement. Third, I'm going to have to put NHL because I think NHL is a lot more exciting to watch. The player introductions, the Stanley Cup Rising banner. It's more exciting time. Fourth, I'm going to put MLB just because it's a long season. And NBA, we can care less about them. We can put them in fifth place. But that's my monologue. I think that football is definitely the best opening day / week that everybody loves and can't wait for. Thoughts about opening day?
Okay. Listen, that's great because like I said, this was past opening day for Major League Baseball, and you're right, it's a 162 game season, so no team is locking up the division, and no team is out of it on day one, right? Always good pomp and circumstances. To your point, it is the first sign of kind of spring, even though some of the weather can be iffy depending on the region. And yeah, I mean, the opening weekend of the March Madness is just something that everybody gets excited about. We all have a shot at our brackets, and unfortunately for me, I didn't do so well on my brackets this year.
Unfortunately, I didn't either, Jim, but I can tell you UConn is still alive, and they are still the team to beat.
That's my only team that I have in the Final Four that's still left, and they
That's correct.
look pretty good. They've been dominating. When we're going to get into that March Madness and where we stand right now. But I'm still amazed at your Yale pick from the first week of the tournament. That was great.
I'm still grateful for that pick, and that kind of saved me, except for Oakland. Next year, I'm picking Oakland if they're back in it. Comment from Eric. Good morning to all. Good morning to you, Eric. Thank you for tuning in and watching.
Yeah, and to Eli's point in the West Coast, so I'm out on the West Coast, and I had an opportunity to go to the home opener for the San Diego Padres at Petco Park, which was just a great, great time. Beautiful stadium, actually, by the way.
Is it better than the East Coast stadiums?
Listen, it's better than some of the other stadiums that I've been to. I mean, Yankee Stadium now has got that tradition for me because we've been going for 50 years, whatever. But it really is a beautiful venue. The people are nice. And the Padres, they're looking to rebound from a kind of an off year. They were expecting a lot more, and they got to do it now without Juan Soto. So that's a big deal. But yeah, listen, and thank you to Eric for a good morning. So no matter what, he's listening to the show, and it's great to have those loyal listeners supporting the show.
Absolutely.
But good stuff, Eli. You're right. Opening day, some people, baseball's their thing, and some people football's their thing.
Yeah.
I guess if I had to put it on the scale, I'd put the Olympics kind of last because I look forward to hockey and the opening day ceremonies and stuff. There's not a lot of much activity with the Olympics, but it's still pretty good anyway.
So where would you put as number one?
NFL.
100%. And number two? We got
NFL. No question about it.
Number two, what would you put? Non-football, what would you put for number two?
Baseball. Yep.
All right.
I wouldn't put, I don't even set my clock to the NBA, so that's not even on my list.
I had to put March Madness because everybody's excited for it. That's the only thing we talk about, as sports fans that we can't wait for. That's why I had to put it as number two because you don't say that with the MLB that you're ready for it for opening day. It's not the same energy.
So good monologue. A topic I wish a lot of people send us a comment at sportswithmono@gmail.com, or you can comment right on the show right now. We'd love to hear your opinion.
Love to hear your thoughts. Yeah.
So Eli, let's do it. Let's jump into March Madness because it's been just as exciting as we anticipated it. A lot of upsets, of course. That's part of the whole aura of
tradition.
The NCAA tournament. We're down to the final 8, and give me some perspective on what you've seen and who's the biggest surprise for you.
Well, I think that definitely a big surprise for me is absolutely Clemson, Alabama. Pretty big upsets that they had. Clemson over Arizona, 77-72 on Thursday's matchup. Alabama over UNC, 89-87. Those two are my big upsets, I think, in my opinion, because UNC and Arizona were such dominant throughout this whole tournament, throughout the regular season. And to come into this tournament and just be blown away by a decent amount of points, it's pretty shocking. And obviously, you got to look at Alabama. That was pretty much an upset by 2 points. But for the Clemson game, it was a 5-point difference between Arizona and Clemson. So you got to give it to that point. And I think this is a football game, if you really think about it, because they're football schools playing basketball. So we are ready for a football game. And I think I am pretty excited to see how this football game turns out, if you ask me. But yeah.
I think if I'm not mistaken, it's the first time that Clemson has been in the Elite Eight since 1980. So obviously they're not known as a basketball school, and Alabama hasn't reached the Elite Eight for 20 years. So it's a great matchup. Somebody's gonna
someone's gonna win it all
after it's over.
Right. I think another big surprise, not big surprise, but UConn is definitely the favorite to win. They are too dominant, I think, against this Illinois team who, yes, they beat Iowa State 72-69. I don't think that we're going to have a much big competition with UConn, and they are definitely the Final Four team, regardless of what happens over with Tennessee, Purdue, NC State, and Duke, and Clemson, Alabama. And if you look at the NC State, I'm actually pretty shocked with them with that upset over Houston, a 4 seed, Duke over Houston. Pretty shocked about that upset, 54-51. Pretty big one. Houston was a favorite to win. And you look at NC State over Marquette, the number 2 seed. That was pretty big. And it was 67-58 the final. That goes to show that NC State is really, truly into this tournament, ready to win it all. So
right, and we know that the Big East had many teams in it, and Creighton and Marquette and UConn were the remaining 3, and 2 were out, and UConn moves on. But I got to tell you, I don't know if it's a surprise because they've been the number 1 team a couple times during the season, but Purdue has a history of getting knocked out early, and now they're moving on, and now they're in the.
I'm actually shocked. I guess you could say that. I'm shocked myself. I understand the number 1 seed. That's not supposed to be shocking in some people's mind. But to me, it's a shock because you look at them. They lost in the first round last year to FDU, if you remember. And
Yes,
go this year to be in the Elite 8 playing Tennessee, which is a tough school, by the way, who had a fantastic game over Creighton, 82-75. You got to look at it and say, hey, this is a pretty good matchup. This is going to, Purdue could be on to the Final Four, which is going to be a shock to most people, or they could be out, which will also not be a shock, but could be a shock in some people's mind.
A lot of people are saying, a lot of people are questioning whether Zach Edey could translate into the NBA, and I think without question, the guy's 7'4". He's built like a tractor trailer.
Absolutely.
So I'm pulling for this guy, but a lot of people think he doesn't have the game outside of, he kind of plays 8 feet in, right? He's not obviously not a 3-point shooter. I guess the only 3-point shooter who's 7'4" or whatever is Wembanyama in the game today.
The Spurs have not had a good run this year, but that's a different.
Right. So Tennessee and Rick Barnes has been here before. Rick Barnes been at a couple of schools. But I'm kind of happy for him because Rick Barnes was kind of the mentor to Kim English, who is now the head coach of Providence. So I got a little connection there. So I'm kind of rooting for Rick Barnes actually. And then you're right. The biggest upset I think from yesterday was, when we think of Duke, we think of a team that we go back to the Bobby Hurley days and the Grant Hill days, and these were just dominant teams. This hasn't been a dominant team, but when it comes to crunch time, right, they step up. And I'll give this, they did get a little bit, I don't want to say fortunate because it's unfortunate that the kid from Houston rolled his ankle and he was out for the second half of the game.
There's no question, right?
Because when you started looking at the game, it looked like Houston. These are grown men. This team was really, loaded for bear, and Duke hung in there, and they took care of it.
They did,
no matter what.
They took care of business. There's no question they did, and they have a potential to play on because they play a tough team of NC State. Don't say that's an easy matchup because NC State did have a very close game and a big upset beat over Marquette, the number 2 seed, 67-58 was the final. You got to remember that the NC State is a tough team. Duke got in there by luck, I guess you could say, because it was by a 3-point final. So this is going to be a very close matchup that it's going to be hard to predict who's going to win. But if you ask me, I think it's going to be in the Final Four. It's going to be UConn, Alabama, and it'll be Duke, Tennessee. That's my Final Four picks.
All right. Here's my picks. I'm going to take Clemson, actually, over Alabama. And I'm going to take, I know this Cinderella run, I don't know, because I remember the last time North Carolina State, I believe they were an 11 seed when they won the national championship, the famous scene with Jimmy Valvano's running around. But I'm going to take Duke because I was so impressed with their win over Houston.
Duke.
And Purdue, Tennessee. Tennessee is a tough defensive team. And if they can contain Edey, they're not going to shut him out completely. He's going to score some points in the paint, and he's going to grab his 20 rebounds or 15 rebounds. So I'm going to take Tennessee in the Final Four. And then, so mine are UConn, Clemson, Duke, and Tennessee. And the only one I had in my Final Four was UConn,
which we all did. And also one other note
Yeah.
from March Madness and from the world of college basketball, Florida Atlantic's head coach Dusty May is going to become the head coach over at the University of Michigan. A big pickup there. He was a fantastic coach, gave Florida Atlantic a Final Four run last year. Congratulations to him. Good pickup by University of Michigan.
Yeah, that's actually a good. And then there was one other one. Didn't somebody else get a?
I don't know. I
I
think that was the biggest one, though.
Yeah, Dusty May. Right. All right, good stuff.
Yeah.
NCAA coming down. So they got the last two teams to make the Final Four today, and then we got them on Saturday, and of course, then the final on following Monday. Right?
Yes.
All right, Eli. So where else are we going with?
Let's go to the NFL. Let's go to the NFL. Why not? There's a lot to talk about there. We're going to the NFL. Let's. I think we got to start there because there's a lot of what happened in the league meeting this week in Orlando, Florida. And before we get to the whole kickoff proposal, the new kickoff proposal that it was officially inducted to the NFL, let's talk about some other news and things that happened. I think we're all going to kill this one right here. But the first ever Brazil game, that's an exclusive Peacock game. Can you believe it? They made it an exclusive Peacock game.
Shame on I can believe it. Yeah. Of course I can believe it because that's what the NFL does. They do it to make money.
So the first ever Brazil game, that's going to be on Peacock, by the way. So you got to get Peacock or you got to go to Brazil. So which is cheaper? Let's see here, Brazil or Peacock.
Yeah, 20 years from now, the answer will be Peacock as opposed to going to Brazil. But yeah,
it will be. But yeah, the Eagles will either play the Browns or the Packers in Brazil. That is what we are told at the time. Other news: Amazon Prime Video confirms its wildcard spot, so they will host a wildcard spot on top of Peacock. So that will be 2 streaming services out of 6 games for the wildcard.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the NFL announced there will be a Christmas doubleheader despite it being on a Wednesday, which also means that beginning December 20th up until New Year's Day, except for a few days, you will have nonstop football between college football and the NFL. So that's pretty exciting news. And they also said if you are going to play the Wednesday Christmas game, you will be either playing that previous Saturday or Thursday game. And the Hall of Fame game will feature the Texans versus Bears on August 1st. And there will also be an in-season 14 One Division Hard Knocks show beginning next season. And the NFL also banned the hip drop tackle, which is a debatable one. I do think that the NFL is becoming more strict when it comes to those matters. I think you're taken away from the game of football, but I can understand the reason why for the ban. But I do think that the NFL is becoming too strict. Jim, what are your thoughts about that one?
Yeah, let's not gloss over that one because that's kind of a big deal. When you think about it, I mean, I played football and I was only taught one way. I didn't try to make a tackle and do it one way. The job was to get the guy down. Now, this is going to open up Pandora's box as far as calls. It's going to change games because somebody's going to say that was a hip tackle, whatever they want to call this.
Right.
And I got to be honest, it's starting to get a little. I appreciate the fact that they're looking out for player safety with the concussions and all that kind of stuff. But at some point,
this is getting too much.
You're making this a different game, and
it's
now
not NFL anymore.
And it's going to come into play because the referees have to make a judgment call as to whether or not that was an illegal tackle. And it's not. I don't see the risk of that tackle.
Absolutely.
I can understand the helmet to helmet, right? Because I don't know why, like I said, concussions are so prominent now as opposed to they were years ago. But this is going to cause a lot of controversy, and it's going to change the outcome of many games. And I don't know. I think this is almost experimental in nature.
Absolutely.
But if it goes, it's going to go wrong. I really think making this a judgment call of the referees is going to change the outcome of many games. I can see it. I can see it already.
No question. But my other concern is how many fines are going to be released because of this ban and tackle. We already know that the NFL gives out tons of fines and penalties already. Now add this into play. How much are we going to give out? Is this going to become a continuous thing where every single player from every single team is going to get some type of penalty or fine because of this? Because if you think about it, last year, you know how many fines that we reported throughout the year? We reported at least 4 to 5 per show, and that was for 1 week. Now think about it. Add the hip tackle, that's going to open up so much more controversy. You know that there's going to be fines. The NFL is looking to way to make money, even though they have tons of it. So that's something we got to also keep in mind. That how much is
what is the risk here, though? I mean, I can.
I honestly don't know. I know you could hear so many perspectives on it. I know Jim Harbaugh, the coach of the Chargers, he was with Pat McAfee on a Twitter interview. He said that he didn't want it. He was pro to get rid of it, and he explained to him, on air, of course, about what he believes in everything. So I don't know. Yeah, and if a tough guy like Jim Harbaugh doesn't like it, you know that something's wrong from a coach's perspective that they want to get rid of it.
You know something, Eli? What I think is going on, and for years and years and years, right? The NFL denied the concussion stuff, and Roger Goodell took over for Paul Tagliabue and carried that on. And then they eventually, due to just public outcry, right, supported the concussion protocol, the helmet to helmet, and so forth. So
right.
I think he's trying to restore his reputation as the patron saint of safety for football. When for years and years and years he goes, I don't know what people are talking about. I mean, concussions are just part of the game. They're not that frequent, and now they're completely frequent. So I think he's trying to repair his original position by implementing rules that are just. I haven't talked to one person that thinks this new rule makes any sense whatsoever, and I don't understand it. Goodell is shrewd. He's going to be there for a while. He's still making $60 million.
He's not leaving anytime soon, and it seems like with the new coaches these days, with Jim Harbaugh entering the league, you could see that this is the biggest one that is being taken away now, and this is just the future of what is going to either be taken away in regards to tackles and things like that, and eventually this is not going to be the NFL anymore. This is going to become baby pass the football.
And of course, nobody wants to see players get hurt. But then
we
also want to see it played football as the game that we grew up watching. It was a violent sport from the beginning. We know that. And, they finally acknowledge and will start taking care of the former players that developed CTE. And listen, you can get CTE from hockey, and we talked about that last week with Chris Simon, right? CTE, and he ultimately took his own life. But people are very, very not really happy with this, and I'm not really happy with it either, because I think it's taking away, and I think it's going to have an impact on the outcome of games, which is,
no question,
again, and it's going to cause people who bet one way, and it's going to cost them, and they're going to be outraged. And again, because my feeling on sports gambling, but this is a real thing, and I'm just appalled by it. I think it's changing the game itself.
Right? Absolutely. And now let's go to the kickoff proposal. They announced that this is a whole scenario. Kicking team, the 10 players cannot move until the ball hits the ground or player in the landing zone or the end zone. Receiving team, all players in the setup zone cannot move until the kick has hit the ground or a player in the landing zone or the end zone. Any kick that hits the landing zone or the goal line, 20-yard line, must be returned. Any kick hits before the landing zone, touch back to the 40 as if the ball went out of bounds. Kick hits the landing zone, rolls into the end zone, and is downed, touch back to the 20. Kick lands in end zone or goes out the back, touch back to the 35. Onside kicks. Fourth quarter begins. The team trailing has the opportunity to declare an onside kick to the officials. Current onside kickoff rules would apply, and no fair catch or signal is allowed. What are we doing?
Listen, first of all, what we've seen, the changes they did several years ago with the kickoff, right?
It
They're
wasn't bad.
they're few and far between. These kickers can kick it out of the end zone
No question.
every single time. And again, it's another step that the league is promoting, I guess, safety, or is that what the real
But
deal
is it
is
though
here?
safety though? Is it really? Because
I don't
what's the
know.
problem with the ball hitting the end of the end zone and calling a touchback? What's the problem with that? Like, I don't see
I
it.
don't know. You're
Did
right.
we
I
have any
don't know.
injuries? Do you recall? I don't remember. Do you recall though? Maybe I could be wrong. An injury from the end zone when calling a touchback from the guy in the end zone. I don't think we recalled it. No,
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I don't think so either. So that's a horrible kickoff rule, and that's gonna be very confusing. Now, what are you gonna say?
Yeah.
All right, so no longer the 25, maybe the 20, maybe the 35, maybe the 40. Now it's like that type of game we're gonna have to play come next year.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll stick with the NFL. I didn't see any big moves. I know that the Eagles did trade Hassan Reddick to the
Yes,
Jets.
that was a pretty big one.
Right? So that must have been because Aaron Rodgers said, "Get Hassan Reddick on the
Yeah,
team,"
we
because
need
he's the
people. Yeah,
coach and general manager. And there
and
was there was an interesting thing at the winter meetings with the owners that there appeared to be a screaming match between Robert Saleh and Woody Johnson, the Jets owner, who, they both deny that it happened. But I don't think Woody Johnson is a big fan of Robert Saleh, being that he's been there for 3 years and they really haven't done anything. I guess
I think last year has to be on Aaron Rodgers. I think you can't blame Robert Saleh on that one. But I think if you would have Aaron Rodgers and it's still an unsuccessful season, you would have saw Robert Saleh gone by now.
Yeah,
you can't blame the guy in that one. He had no time to train Zach Wilson. He's not supposed to be your quarterback. I don't know. In that matter, it's really tough.
I don't know. I didn't see anything, but is Zach Wilson still a New York Jet, or has he been?
I think he's been released, but nobody picked him up.
Nobody.
So I don't know if he's still stuck as a Jet. I don't know what the whole rules are. Yeah. I think the other two big names that were out there was former Patriots and Bills running back Damian Harris announces his retirement from the league. So congratulations to him. Very big, important player. And Raheem Mostert, 2-year deal, $9 million for the Dolphins. They get the pickup sign there. Other guys are just some.
Well, he was on the Dolphins. They just re-signed him.
Yes, they re-signed, right.
Yeah.
And
you stole my thunder. You stole my thunder because I was going to bring up Damian Harris. He was really a serviceable, good running back,
right.
And I think he had to have won a Super Bowl with the Patriots, right?
Yes, I believe he won a Super Bowl with the Patriots. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, here's an interesting one. While we're talking about this, Eli. So
yes, go ahead.
First of all, we know that the Buffalo Bills are building a new stadium, and it's kind of
right.
It's kind of funded by
the
public funds.
Yes.
And now there's a thing, and we saw this with the Giants. We saw it across the NFL 20 years ago, which kind of, my father was a season ticket holder for many years, literally going back to the 50s. And then they came and said, okay, if you want to keep your season tickets, you got to pay a PSL, right? Seat license.
Right.
And it was outrageous. It ranged from 15,000 to 50,000. And my father had seats on the 50-yard line. So those were $50,000 just for the right to get the tickets. And that was the point where, our family said, this is not fair. It's not fair. And so basically we stopped going to the game. I mean, and now Buffalo Bills are doing it. The public is funding it. And now they're going to do the seat licenses too, which technically, because, the league allows it, but they're gonna, Buffalo is kind of a blue collar town. These guys have been going to these games forever, and now you're gonna take some, a hard scrabble guy from Buffalo. Depending on where his seats are, it could be $15,000 to $50,000 just for that license. I don't know how this is gonna.
Ticketmaster.
Your face. That's
Ticketmaster. It is. It's gonna be just Ticketmaster. It's all it's gonna come down to.
Yeah, but I mean, you actually have to pay. Like if your seat is somewhere, on the lower level, really good seat, it's going to cost you $50,000. And I think the controversy is they're saying, a guy who has those kind of seats and, he's been season ticket holder, they should at least give him the option. If his seats are a $50,000 PSL, give him an option to move to a different section for a lower cost. And that hasn't even been proposed yet. So this is, and I know a lot of Buffalo Bills fans. I know they love to go to the games, but this is going to cause quite an outrage.
A lot of controversy. Right.
Yeah. So I wanted to bring that up.
Yeah. Good points there.
Yeah. So what else, Eli? So how about my Rangers starting to look pretty good in the NHL?
Okay, so I'm glad you brought the Rangers up because I wanted to bring that up real quick. They clinched the playoff spot. Congratulations to your Rangers fans. But I just want to bring up one point real quick. You guys are still in first place in the entire league. You could still win the President's Trophy. Just want to make that clear, which means you ain't going to the Stanley Cup final. I can tell you that much.
Oh, that's the President's Cup jinx you're referring to?
Yes, absolutely, yes. So, Rangers fans, you got to keep on winning. If you get that President's Trophy, you ain't going to the Stanley Cup Finals. You got to hope you guys start losing. That's all I got to say. If you guys really don't want that curse, you need to lose. That's my only message.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not saying I'm going to root for you, but if you want a shot at the playoff run, you got to lose games now and not win.
I got you. But here's the thing. So the Rangers, right? What a year Artemi Panarin is having. I mean,
absolutely. There's no question. He's having a fantastic year.
Has to be in the MVP category. I know Austin Matthews has 58 goals now, but Panarin's got almost close to 50, if not 50, over 100 points. He's one of the best passers that in the league today, maybe one of them of all time. But the knock on him, of course, is that he doesn't show, sometimes he doesn't show up for the playoffs the way he did in the regular season. I think that's going to be different this time around.
Right.
But you got good teams. You have Florida, you have Vancouver of all teams, right?
I know.
Winnipeg. These are teams, because there's so much talent in the NHL that all of the teams that were notoriously basement dwellers are now in contention for the Stanley Cup. And that season, again, and I call the Stanley Cup playoffs another season because it could go,
it can go forever.
4 series at 7 games apiece, and sometimes it does that. That's almost a third of a season. And as you know, I always said, hardest trophy to win is the Stanley Cup.
In sports is the Stanley Cup. And there is no question. But I do think that the Rangers have the best chance, but they need to start losing so they don't win that President's Trophy. If they really want to shot, in my opinion, keep on winning games. That's all I got to say. Win that President's Trophy. I'm rooting for you. This is the one time I'll be rooting for the Rangers.
Wow, boy, you are a homer. You are a homer.
I love the Devils. Go Devils. They're not going to the playoffs. I can tell you that after that 5-2 loss yesterday with the Sabres. But I had to bring that up. I had to mention it.
Eli, I wanted to bring something up because, as we talked about last week with this Ohtani situation, and he came out on Monday and basically flat out said, he was robbed. He had no knowledge of this. He's never bet on baseball. He's never bet on sports in general.
He probably has no idea what to do. Exactly.
So I don't know. I always thought like the easiest approach for him would have say, I just bailed my friend out because now this is going to be a legal thing. There's going to be, illegal betting, wire transfers, all this kind of stuff, and his name's attached to it. So I still don't know. We don't know anything more than I think we did last week, but it's something that's really, it's really disturbing. But by him saying he has no knowledge of what went on, it was clearly theft. I wonder if that was the right approach for him, and we're going to see how that plays out with the courts, and what Rob Manfred's going to do, because you don't want to lose this guy, but if
you don't want to lose him because he is the top-notch player in this league, the most paid, the most everything you could think of. So to lose him is like basically taking away the sport of baseball. That's what it's going to feel like. It's a bold take to say, but that's how it's going to feel like.
I know. So, what made me think of that was also this Jonte Porter situation for the NBA. I mean, it's clear, they monitor these betting, because this is legalized betting as opposed to what Ohtani did with, dealing with a bookmaker, and sports gambling is illegal in California.
Right.
But this guy clearly, you can do prop bets on every single player in the league, and say whether he's going to get more than 2 assists, or is he going to score more than 4 points? Is he going to get less than 2 rebounds, and so forth? And so it was noticed. They flagged these things now. They flagged these prop bets, and this guy basically took himself out on 4 prop bets for 2 different games, where it was the under for all those categories, whether it was points, assists, and everything. I mean, this stinks to high heaven. I mean, this is exactly what my fear was with sports betting and so forth. Besides the fact that guys could lose their homes sitting on their couch. But when you're getting into this, and it's going to happen more and more, this is clear. The evidence clearly looks on the surface. I know we've got to do more investigation here,
but it is clear.
Is a very serious thing. I mean, this is almost like fixing games, and we've seen scandals in the NBA, with fixing games, college games, right? 10 years ago there was a ref that was actually fixing games.
Right. He was.
So it's getting out of control with the sports betting, and
it is. And the thing is, it just keeps on growing. New platforms are coming up left and right. So now the issue is, how is this going to involve legally, and how are we going to somehow not let the players gamble, which some way or another they will. And no matter what, somebody's going to fix the game. How is this going to change the sports world? That is the question we got to ask ourselves. Are every game going forward going to be somehow fixed? That is the question.
I'm not suggesting that players don't have the right, to bet. Obviously, not on their own sport, not on their own team.
Right.
But the integrity of leagues are being questioned here because of some moves like this.
Yes.
So it's a big deal. This isn't going to be the last time it's happened. It's a little bit different than Ohtani, where there's more, legal ramifications as opposed to fixing games, which is a very serious charge. And this guy could go to jail for stuff like this if it's
pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know
That's
what
baseball
to make
for
of
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I don't know what to make of it.
Yeah.
Couple other quick things. Couple notes from baseball. Tyler O'Neill of Boston broke the record for his 5th consecutive opening day with a home run. That's pretty noticeable, right?
Yes, it is. Pretty big name, yeah.
I mean, I would have thought that would have
been broken a long time.
Would have had,
yeah,
something like that, but nope. And here's an interesting thing. So, we've been hearing for probably over a year with Alex Rodriguez trying to buy a majority interest in the Minnesota Timberwolves, and looks like that just fell apart during this past week. He still says he's in on it, but I don't know. I mean, this has gotten to be a crazy story. Now the owner, Glenn Taylor, is saying the team is not for sale. So, I know Alex Rodriguez loves the limelight, loves to be in the news, loves to have his picture on TV. I don't know how serious he was. I don't know who his financial backing is. He's been retired for many years. I know he's got a lot of money, but you see what the cost of buying sports franchises has become.
Absolutely.
Now, right?
It's
In
tons
the
of money.
billions of dollars.
It ain't cheap.
Yeah, so it looks like that fell through, even though he says he's still on it and he has the financing to do this. So
Right.
we'll see. And there was also an interesting story that came out with I don't know what you call them, P. Diddy Combs, whatever. But he had tied into a lot of names coming to surface, and there was a former Syracuse basketball player, Brendan Paul, played back in like 2018 to 2020. Now he's implicated as being, like a drug runner for Combs. It's just it seems like there's always somebody in sports that's involved in these ugly situations, and
it's crazy.
I don't know what to make of it. I don't know what to make.
I don't know either. It's just a long, complicated story and thing to do that we're glad we're not in charge of, because we would be there for a while.
And I forgot to mention, obviously, that our random points, of course, are brought to you by Lynch Toyota for sure. What other? You got some points you want to ramble off here?
I'll bring up random points real quick. Let's start off with high school baseball. There's a couple of rule changes and things to know about. Start off with this. Pitchers can now finish an at-bat term if they reach the 150 pitch limit in a 5-day calendar period. Previous rule did not allow them to finish at-bat. This, which remains the same, but now matches the rule that you cannot go over the 110 pitch count rule in a single game, but can finish your at-bat term. So that is some news that you need that was released by the NJIC, which is, I guess, pretty helpful. I guess
is that a national high school?
This is for New Jersey high school baseball.
New Jersey, okay,
right. Also announced that the final for this also for Jersey. This is all for Jersey, by the way. The final change is there will now be a 6-day off period break between rounds 1 and 2 of the state tournament, and that is because of Memorial Day interfering this year. The state tournament starts on May 22nd for non-public, 23rd for public, and Memorial Day is the 27th. Second round will start on the 20th. Because of Memorial Day break, there has to be like an off period, so that is the whole reason why there is that changes in implementing there.
Okay.
2 other quick notes. Pretty cool. Don Bosco played Camden for the national title at American Dream. They played basketball at American Dream. They basically took the ice rink at American Dream and made it a basketball court. So they played for the national title at American Dream. Pretty cool to see there what they were able to do. And finally,
well, there's a little bit of nostalgia there because Camden Catholic actually got lucky. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Or Manahawkin, or Manasquan, somebody actually won the game, but they didn't. So they would have been the team to play Don Bosco, I would assume.
Correct. Right? That is correct. They would have played them, yes. And finally, CBS Sports' James Brown will receive the Lifetime Achievement Award at the 45th Annual Sports Emmys. So congrats to him. Those are my random.
Okay. He's been around forever, but
Yeah, he's been doing it all. He's been doing a lot with NFL and CBS News. He replaced Norah O'Donnell once in a while whenever on the CBS Evening News. So,
okay. All right, so it's time for movie recommendation, and
all right, what do you got?
Stick with the theme of comedy. So my recommendation this week is Midnight Run with Robert De Niro and Charles Grodin. Have you ever seen that?
No, I have not.
No, okay.
A lot of your movies I have not seen. Got to catch up.
Do you have one for us or not?
I just watched with the school because it's a project coming up. The Great Gatsby. It was a 2016 film with
Okay.
It wasn't a bad movie.
Yeah, it's kind of a mushy movie, right?
Yeah, it's but yeah, I watched it, so got to throw it out there. Let's get to the photo.
We got a picture I sent you. Now, let me preface this before you put it up.
Okay.
Right. This obviously is not a political show. We don't advocate one party versus another.
I saw the photo and I said to myself, we're gonna get into some politic arguments here. I think not myself and Jim, but from the fans. I thought this is where it's gonna head to.
But you could have put either one of the guys in the picture, but the picture itself was basically because I'm a Jackie Gleason, I'm a honeymooners guy. So post the picture and comment as you will on. There it is. I mean, how classic is that, right? And like I said, you can Photoshop and put anybody you want in there, but it's the famous "Get Out" line by Ralph Cramden. I thought it was funny, and I wanted to put that up on the show.
All right.
All right, Eli. So we got some notable passings that we want to pass on, and the first one was Jonathan Diller. He was a New York City
Yes, absolutely.
police officer, and again, we see this time and time again. Just police officers doing their job, routine traffic stop, and he ends his life married, a young child, and
It's horrible.
at some point we got to ask ourselves, when is this kind of stuff going to stop? And the answer, unfortunately, is never.
Unfortunately.
But we wanted to send that out because we're from the New York metropolitan area,
Right.
and we've seen it before. But Jonathan Diller, 31, terrible loss for the city of New York and his family. I'm going to bring it up.
It is. It truly is horrible to see.
And one of a great actor, and we bring up actors too on notable passings. And I wanted to mention that Louis Gossett Jr. passed away at the age of 87. And he was famous for, I guess, best known for his role in Officer and a Gentleman with Richard Gere back in 1980, I believe. And
First
very recognizable. You've seen him in a lot of shows. He was actually in Alex Haley's miniseries on TV back in the 70s, Roots, and just a great actor, always a good guy. I actually saw a profile of him on CBS a couple of maybe 8 months ago, and he passed away. He was 87. And you and I talked a little bit about this morning, right? We wanted to send our best to the city of Baltimore and the families of those who got lost. And 6 people died when a cargo ship crashed into the Francis Scott Key Bridge. Oh God, like a horrible thing. You can actually see cars going off the bridge, and
it's amazing. It's amazing how weak that bridge is. It truly is.
Yeah, it's like 1.6 miles long.
Yes,
right?
And it's only 47 years old. And I make this point up because I love transportation, and that's another hobby of mine. Learning about the whole transportation field and everything. You look at New Jersey Transit's Portal Bridge in Newark, New Jersey, that has to open up every time a bridge goes through. They have to sledgehammer it back in, and it's a 102-year-old bridge that's still in service. Now, imagine that one that's only 47 years old to full that fast. Imagine a simple bridge like that is used every day by tons of commuter rail trains. This is a little scary. And it was weak. It was just how weak the bridge was to collapse that fast is amazing. It truly is. And it's not in a good way, but it's horrible. It's going to take a while to build. There's going to be a lot at stake, and it's horrible to watch and see.
Yeah. But we talk about sports and so forth. When we see loss of life and things that just
we have to
are out of people's control, it's worth noting, worth thinking about. And like I said, our thoughts and prayers go out to those families in the city of Baltimore. It's a terrible situation. Yeah. But before we go, Eli, I wanted to wish everybody in our loyal listener base a happy Easter.
Yes,
right?
Your Easter.
As you can see, you put that on the moniker this week. So may jelly beans. I mean, the meaning of Easter obviously is very powerful itself.
Yes.
But for little kids and stuff, it's Easter bunnies and jelly beans.
Yes.
And
enjoy the chocolate and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. So I just want to wish everybody, our loyal listener base, a very happy Easter Sunday tomorrow, and. We're going to be back here again. But first, we always want to mention, we really do love to hear from you. I had a great email, a couple emails this morning from at our Sports with Mono and Mono at Gmail account, because we know we recognize and we thank you guys, because the the loyalty that you show and the fact that you're listening and you comment.
It's
why we
fantastic.
do the show,
Right. We appreciate it.
And Eli has been with the show now for a while, and he's certainly
years
making a name for himself. And
I can't believe
great
it.
to
It's a
have
year
you.
almost. It's almost a year doing the show.
I know. I can't believe it already. Yeah.
I know. Gee.
When was it actually the first one? I don't even remember.
It was right before 4th of July. It was sometime in June.
Okay. Coming up on a year.
It's a year almost.
But it's been great to have you, and our loyal listener band. Days, thank you, and have a happy Easter. And Eli, I'll see you next week, same time, right?
Enjoy the rest of your time in California, and thank you all for watching. Goodbye.
All right, we'll see you guys. Take care.